Hey y'all, and welcome to The Wannabe Author. I'm Taryn, a writer figuring out how to turn my publishing dream into reality, one chaotic step at a time. This is the place where we talk books, writing struggles, mental health, and everything in between. Whether you're a writer, a reader, or just curious about the process, I am so glad you're here. Let's jump in. Hey y'all, and welcome back to The Wannabe Author. I'm your host, Taryn Christine, and today's episode is one I have been dying to share with y'all. For years, today's guest has poured her heart, time, and energy into making her publishing dream a reality. Her journey has been anything but easy, but through perseverance and passion, she's finally seeing her debut novel come to life. In our conversation, we dive deep into the highs and lows of the publishing world, focusing on the search for the right literary agent, the green flags, the red flags, and the lessons learned along the way. She's not only an incredible writer, but also someone who has personally inspired and supported me in my own journey. I couldn't be more thrilled to celebrate this milestone with her. Her debut novel, The Gods Time Forgot, is a gripping historical romantacy where Irish mythology collides with Gilded Age New York. When Ruan wakes with no memory and is mistaken for a missing heiress, she takes the opportunity to uncover her past, but as memories of a world steeped in dark magic return, she and the enigmatic Lord of Donor, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right, must unravel ancient secrets before their true history destroys their future. I am so honored to introduce you all to Kelsie Sheridan Gonzalez. Hi, Kelsie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me here on The Wannabe Author. You have some super exciting things happening in this next month with the release of your debut. How are you feeling?
I am so excited. I have been waiting for this day for it feels like a decade, honestly.
No, that's
Yeah,
so
now we're
awesome.
3 weeks away. I cannot believe it.
Oh my gosh,
I
that's
think
crazy.
Yeah, I think it's 3 weeks now. Yeah,
That
3
is
weeks.
so exciting. I'm so excited for you. We're going to
Thanks.
dive deep into everything regarding your book, your journey. But first, I love to start out with, what are you currently reading, if you are reading anything?
So I actually just finished beta reading. So my friend Raquel, her book is coming out, Their Will Undone. It's coming out in 2026. It's coming out next March. But I just finished reading it. It's like a coming of rage, as she calls it. It's an Inca, like an Inca inspired world. It's a YA fantasy, and it was just so good. I ate it up. It was so good. I read it so fast, and I'm a very slow reader.
Me too.
It takes me
That's so
forever.
fun.
Yeah. So that's what I just finished reading that, and then I'm also like in the middle of Blood Over Brighthaven, which I'm loving. It's so good.
Okay.
But it's been a few months since I picked that up. But that's how I do these things. I read very, very slow. It'll take me a year sometimes to finish something.
Dang. No, I feel if I'm physically reading something, it'll take months.
Yeah.
I'm so bad. I'm so bad.
Yeah. It's hard to
Now, if
find.
it's an
I don't know.
audio.
Sometimes I find it hard to like with the 5-year-old find the time to sit and read, you know?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Okay, I'm currently reading, I'm trying to think. Okay, today I had this moment. I'm listening to V.E. Schwab on her podcast, okay? And she just starts talking in this really poetic way. And I was like, I need to be more poetic. So I deep dive, whatever, into poems and Shakespeare and Edgar Allan Poe. So I'm reading Macbeth right now.
Okay. I don't
Really
know.
out of pocket, out of my realm usually. So it's just
I
kind of
think I
funny.
probably read Macbeth in high school.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I
No,
don't know.
I was like, I think the last time I would have probably read this is in high school. It was kind of creepy.
Yeah,
It's been creepy, but I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into everything regarding you. I'd love to start out with just like background. I'd love for you to explain just a bit about what led you to pursue writing and this book.
Honestly, like the reason I started writing is like the worst reason ever. But so I was commuting. So I've always been like, drawn to like creative writing classes and stuff like that. Like English was my, I loved English. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
But so that was always like my favorite subject at school, but like I never pursued it in college or anything like that. Um, but so it was after college, like I was working in the city, so I'm commuting about an hour and 10 minutes both ways into Manhattan. And I'm like, I need to do something with my time. Like I was reading every day. I'm like eating up these like, I'm also the only person I think that reads on iBooks on iPhone. So I think I'm the only one. So I was just like consuming so many romances that I read like this one series, and I'm not gonna name it. But it was, like, bad, but I read, like, 8 of them. I was like I couldn't get enough, but, like, objectively, like, they were silly, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Okay, if this author can write this and, like, make me want to buy more, more, more," I'm like, "I can write something too." Like, if this person wrote it, I should try at least. So that's, like, why I started, like, I guess just, like, pure pettiness. And then, yeah, I just, like, kept writing on the train. It was never, like I didn't realize it was something I could like do as a not a career, but like it wasn't something that like I could pursue.
Mhm.
Um, like I just like thought like books showed up in bookstores. Like I didn't put it like the word. I never thought about like how they got there. Like who are the people writing them? Like they feel like faraway celebrities to me. I was just writing on the train. I wasn't taking it super serious. Like I would write for 6 months and then I wouldn't write for 6 months. But it was like this. It was the same story. But it started as like a contemporary time travel type thing, and like she time traveled to the past, but then like obviously with a million rewrites I just removed the contemporary part, and like this is where the story picks up now. But yeah, it just boredom, pettiness on the train, like needed to do it, so it took about 10 years, but we got there.
No, that's so cool. I
Speaking
love
of
love.
dogs, my dog just ran in. He's like, oh, you called.
He's
Ollie, want
welcome.
to say hi? Ollie's very,
Okay.
let's say hi, Ollie. Listen to
Hi,
Ollie.
hi, dude. Oh, he's darling.
Look at the camera, Ollie. Cute boy. Okay, get down. Too big. Sorry.
No, I love it. How old is he?
7? He's gonna be 8. Yeah.
Oh, he's darling.
Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, wait, I am curious. What kind of sparked that contemporary time travel aspect of it?
I think like it came out of a desire to be like, this is also silly, but like, how like basically Vampire Diaries, or like basically the idea that you could just be like a regular girl and then like one day something magical could happen and like you can fall through these rocks, or like Outlander, like just something like that. That was kind of how it started. So it was, I guess it was like a self-insert, you know?
Mm,
The idea,
okay.
yeah, like you're just a regular girl, the mundane, and then okay, magic, here's this happening, and that's where that started. But then I just obviously cut that part out. But
No, I think those are some of my favorite comfort, what
yeah,
is it, storylines of that magical realism.
yeah.
So that's perfect. Okay, let's talk about your writing process. Given that the novel intertwines Irish mythology with Gilded Age New York, what kind of research, or if you had to do any research, um, did you undertake to authentically portray these elements?
So I did like randomly read a lot of like dissertations, like just be when because I did want to like make sure. So like with historical stuff, I don't want to be like, oh okay, um this building was here like in 1870, when like no, actually it wasn't built until 1875. So like I did have to like look up those kinds of things, and then just like general vibe of like Gilded Age ladies and like what they dressed, what they wore, what they ate, where they went, like that kind of stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
for the Irish mythology part of it, that started with just like random Google searches on like the Morrigan and things like that. And then I dove deeper into like the source material, like just to make sure because obviously there's like a million iterations of these legends.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I just kind of tried to pull from the source material, and then I wanted some of it to, obviously I changed it. It's like I say it's like kind of like fan fiction of it. But I tried to keep some of the elements like true to the story, but at the same time, they're all like it's translation, so it's like I'm not 100% sure on what I'm getting, but the story, I look it up to make sure the story that I'm reading matches the story that I'm seeing like on many different websites, that kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was a lot of Googling and just cross-checking things, but yeah, I also like read a lot in the time period, so like I had some kind of knowledge, you know what I mean? Like to
Yeah.
base it on, and then I just like expanded my research to make sure it made sense.
No, that's perfect. Dang. I'm so excited. I hope you know that. I'm so excited for this book.
Thank you. I'm excited for you to read it.
What are some significant challenges you encountered while writing this novel, and how did you overcome them?
My biggest problem was that I never got to the end. I was like a notorious rereader. So I would write and then I would like kind of, so like I was saying, like I would write for 6 months and then I would stop.
Mhm.
It wouldn't always be 6 months. Like it could be I didn't write for a month, but so I would every time I would go back to the story, I wouldn't pick up from where I left off. I would reread from the beginning. So then I would add a little bit more. And then I'm like, oh, okay, like, does this work with the beginning? And then I would just go back again. I was in like a cycle. And I don't think I got to the end until like right before I was querying, and that was like 2019, 2020. Because I did end up, so I tried to do this is like kind of off on a tangent, but pitch wars used to be a thing back then. And it was like where there was like 30 something mentors for each genre, and you could like query them. Basically, you selected the mentors that you wanted to work with, so you would send them like your query, and then like they would pick you, but they were like, qualified, like they were within the publishing industry, like they were editors. I don't think there was any agents, but they would do like a complete overhaul of your manuscript, and then at the end of it, there was like this pitch wars I forgot what it was, but they posted on a website like all of the people that were in the contest. All of their query letters were up on like a board kind of thing, and agents went to go look at it, and like so many, and like you just see in the comment sections like agents like requesting people's manuscripts. Like I know so many people that like signed off of the Pitch Wars thing, but so anyway, I didn't get selected for Pitch Wars, but I did like really vibe with an editor and with a mentor who's also a developmental editor. So I sent her my manuscript. We worked on it for a couple months. Like I needed a developmental edit because, as I said, I couldn't get to the end.
Mhm.
Um, so I worked with them, and they also did a query critique. So like I had a complete manuscript at the end of it, and then like a query letter, a synopsis. Like I was good to go. So um, I don't know what your question was. I don't know how I ended up there, but yeah, I don't know how we got there, but that's what I did.
Okay. You you kill me. I love you. Okay. I had just asked like what significant challenges you faced while writing.
Oh, okay. It
And
was
you
not
answered it. You
yeah,
did
okay.
good.
And then I ran away with something else.
No, that's actually so interesting. I've never heard of the pitch wars.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
think I
kind of
was
what they do on Twitter? Wow, I just said Titter.
like better. Um, it no, it's way more extensive because Twitter's like kind of direct to like the Twitter pitches is like direct to an agent, but
Oh.
Pitch Wars you were looking to work with a mentor who was going to help you revise your manuscript in like a really tight time frame. I think it was like within 2 or 3 months.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, and so like you submitted in September, they chose by October, and then like by December or January, like your manuscript was polished, ready to go, and then yeah, it went up. I forget what it was called, but it was like it was so cool like to go and read through, and then you just see like people like agents, they're like, "Oh, I want to read this, I want to read this." But like it worked because it was done by like industry professionals, so like the agent,
Hmm.
it was like very like it was well vetted and like the quality was there. It wasn't like just, random postings. It was like you knew these
Yeah.
people had worked on the manuscript like from beginning to end with somebody. Or like, that they had been edited.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think it ended in 2022 or maybe 2021. It didn't last much long. It went on for a couple years. I only learned about it like when it ended, but you know,
Oh,
yeah, it was a really great. I think it was just very time consuming for and it was free. So for the people
yeah.
that read it, I think it was just too much. Like they did a great job, but it was a lot of work.
No, that makes sense. What an
Yeah.
interesting. Hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like with every author I interview, I learn a new way, like into the industry. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Like very
It's
cool.
crazy. Yeah.
Okay, regarding publishing, let's get into your journey. I know I've learned a lot from you because you post a lot about your journey on
Yeah.
TikTok, and I've been so what is it, privileged to listen to a lot of your TikToks and learn from you regarding your journey, your experiences. So I'd love for you to walk the listeners through your journey to getting The God's Time Forgot published.
What a journey. Okay. So like I said, I attempted Pitch Wars, but I ended up hiring a developmental editor right
Mhm.
before I went into the query trenches in the summer of 2020. And that was kind of the first time I learned I didn't like know what anything was about traditional publishing. Like that world is crazy. Like there is just so I don't even know how I stumbled upon it. Like I think I just happened to make friends on Instagram that were going that route versus I could have had I met friends on Instagram that were doing indie, like that's the way I would have swayed because I just knew nothing
Mhm.
about the industry. But so like Angela Montoya, I don't know if she wrote Sinner's Isle and A Cruel Thirst. I'm shouting around. I love her. She was like one of my first writing friends online, and like basically I just like did what she was doing. She actually did Pitch Wars. She was chosen, and I
Oh,
think
cool.
she might have found her agent via Pitch Wars. Um, but anyway, again, I keep going off on tangents.
You're good.
Started querying in the summer of 2020, and I signed with my agent in October. So I started around July-ish, July, and I signed with an agent in October. And that relationship lasted about a year and a half, I would say. I did a couple rounds of revisions, maybe 2 rounds, and then my agent ghosted me on the last revision. I didn't hear from them for like 10 months, but the entire time I was like, "Oh my God, you're being so annoying. Stop texting, stop," as if I had her phone number. Um, Stop emailing her. You're gonna be you're coming across. I basically just gaslit myself into being quiet. And so it was 2021 at this point, and I think I had jumped on TikTok and I had met some other people that were like in the industry, and they were like, this is not normal. Like I didn't really have too many friends in the writing community to really like tell me like this is like Angela was like, my agent doesn't do this, like she answers me. um but I needed to hear that from multiple sources, and finally, yeah, like I would send an email and it would take like 2 or 3 weeks to get a response from like the assistant. And like basically, yeah, I was ghosted on that revision for 10 months. And I was like, okay, if you don't have any notes for me, like I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I
Yeah.
left the agent. So I had a manuscript that I was like unsure about because I had revised it with this agent. And then I had to go back into the query trenches. So I had to wait 60 days to do that. So I think by now we were in 2022. I think I left spring of 2022. And yeah, I left in April and I wasn't allowed to query till June. And I knew I didn't change my query letter, and my synopsis was basically still the same. Like I hadn't done like major tweaking. So I did feel confident enough to go back into the trenches because it worked before. Like in my head, I'm like, well, why wouldn't it work again? Um, I thought it was going to be like so easy, but it wasn't. I mean, in hindsight, it didn't take, years. It took 6 months for me to find another agent. But that that didn't work out either. So I initially got an offer of publication from another small press, and then I also got an offer from a literary agent, and I went with the literary agent because like I wanted to go wide on submission. And so I started working with that literary agent, but I knew like on the phone call that like we weren't aligned. Like I thought maybe it was like a personality mismatch, but then I'm like, it's fine, you don't have to be your friend. Like I just felt like I knew all the red flags from before and I thought that I was like gonna be fine. But I was like, I just want to get this book because I had like editor interest. And I just wanted to submit it to this editor. But my agent was like, let's send this out to beta readers. Do a call on your TikTok and send this out to beta readers. And I got like so many people wanted to read the book. I had 30 different beta readers and they all read it. Like I got feedback from 30 different people. So like that's too many cooks in the kitchen. But there was enough of a consensus on like certain things that I needed to change, which was a lot more than what my agent and I had talked about on the initial phone call. Like she didn't give me an edit letter, which I should have known was also an issue. Um, there's so many things looking back that I'm like, what were you thinking? Um, yeah, so I did a revision based on 30 different beta readers' feedback. And my agent was like, when I finally sent it to her, I was thinking like, this is great. Like, this is it. So now we're in 2023. So I had signed with this agent in January of 2023. So like I had started querying in June 2022 and it took 6 months and I signed with that agent in January. So by February, I'm like working on this revision, like the feedback is coming in. And I sent it to her, I think in the spring maybe. And she was like, this is not good. Like, this is bad. She was like, you missed the mark. Like, yeah, no, like I felt like shit. Like, to fairness to her, like she responded really quickly on emails and like she did hop on a call with me. But I could tell she was I don't know. I think it was too much work. But yeah, she gave that revision. But so my manuscript was at like 110,000 words ish, maybe. And then that summer, I like gutted the whole thing. I had a second phone call with her, and I could tell in that call she was like not interested. She was kind of like, she rushed me off the phone. And I had a weird feeling, but I was like, let me, trim this manuscript back. And so I got like 70,000 words, which was like a massive revision over the summer. And I didn't necessarily I felt good about like where it landed. Like it still needed a lot of work, but I sent it. I so when I let her know in, it was around Labor Day or something. It was like early September. I was like, "Okay, I finished this." And I sent it to her and she's like, "Great, can't wait to dive in." And then like 2 weeks later I checked back in just to see, "Hey, like where are we at with this?" And she was like, I was like, "I thought of a few things I wanted to like add to the ending. I don't know if you're in the middle of it. Like, should I just wait till you're done, like to hear what you think?" And then she was like, "Oh wait, you haven't like workshopped this with anybody?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "You haven't sent this to critique partners?" And I was like, "No." Um, she was like, "Well, I'm not reading this. Like, this is like a first draft." She's like, that's not what I do." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I'm not your target audience." And I was like, "You were when you signed me. Like, you said you were." She's like, "Why don't you send it to a developmental editor? Like authors do that." And I'm like, "No. Like, I'm not paying money. That's not how this works." And also, I'm like, after what happened the last time when you sent me off to beta readers, and you didn't like the feedback, like I don't want that to happen again. Like I'm not writing, like I'm not gonna take more strangers' feedback and like I've exhausted my people. She kept trying to get me into like a writing group, like a workshop or like maybe a workshop. I don't know. But like in writers groups, you can't just send your manuscript to people. Like you have to earn their trust and like you have to do a lot of like manuscript swaps or like chapter swaps, and I'm like, this is going to take me years to get them to any writers group to like read my manuscript and give me feedback. Like, I don't want to do this with you for like that long. And she was just like, I was like, look, this isn't working out, but it was amicable, and she parted ways. Contract ended that day. Like, I knew she was done. She was not interested. Um, so that was September 2023. So that lasted 9 months. And
Jeez.
yeah. And so I was back in the query trenches again. Um, I was devastated, but I got like so many full requests like right away that I thought like, oh, this is gonna be great. Like this won't take long. And then like it was just crickets. Like I think I had like 30 fulls out at one time. Yeah, it was like I had
Dang.
so many, and it just like nothing ever really materialized. And then by December, I was just like so upset. Where are these hearts?
Sorry.
They just like burst out of your chest.
Just sending you my love from afar.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
That's okay. So okay, so by December, I submitted to Alcove Press, which is my publisher right now. They accept unagented submission.
Oh, cool.
Unagented submissions. So I sent that to them, but like I wasn't expecting to hear anything. And I was just like so done with I'm
Mhm.
like I couldn't write anything else because I was always just like hung up on The God's Time Forgot, whether it was like querying or like revising. Like it was just everything was about that book, and like I couldn't move on from it. Like I was not going to shelve it. Like I was trying to build up my TikTok, and like I had like interest there, and I didn't like and people looking forward to reading it. And then I'm like, what am I going to do? Like shelve this for years? I'm going to lose the momentum. So I
Yeah.
was considering self-publishing, like so much so that I literally hired a cover artist who I like paid money to, and like obviously I didn't go that route, and like I don't believe in taking money back from like artists. So like I'm waiting to use that for something else. Like that deposit, like I'll use it for like character art or something in the future. But so like I was like fully committed to self-publishing, and then I got an offer from Alcove
Mm.
Press. Um and so they have like great distribution like through Penguin Random House. So like that was my biggest thing, was like I didn't want to self-publishing is like so much work that I just like could not handle on my own. I don't think like I didn't want to have to worry about like ISBNs, like all of these things.
Mhm.
It just that's not like my strong suit at all. Like I would have like even just researching it, I was like so overwhelmed and stressed. Like I was like, this is not going to end well. Like this is not
Mhm.
I'm cut out for. So when Alcove Press offered, I was like, ah, like this is I need help. So so when you get an offer of publication, you can notify agents that you are. So I had withdrawn a lot of my, which was in hindsight kind of stupid. When I decided to self-publish, I withdrew my query and my full from most of the agents that had it. If not all of them. Like there was one that I ended up forgetting to, and I'll tell you what happened with her after. Um, but so I then got an offer, and then had to go back to the agents that I had withdrawn my query from and been like, oh, actually, I have an offer of publication. But this was also during like the holiday break. So like no
Mm.
office, like publishing shuts down. So I was getting like so many out of office replies from literary agents, or they were like, okay, yeah, I'll take a look at it back in January. And I'm like, no, I need to know now. And so eventually, a friend put me in touch with their agency who were just going to handle the contract for me, because like I would have like ruined my life negotiating my own contract, you know? So I had her agent like was going to help with the contract just for that. Like they weren't like offering rep or anything. But then I had spoken to, I guess, um my agent now who is there, she I guess read it in the meantime, the manuscript. And then I also ended up getting an offer from that agent I didn't withdraw my query from. So then I had two offers, but I went with my agent now who is at the agency that was helping like
Okay.
handle the contract. It was just easier. And then like she's just like she's been amazing. Like it's night and day between the other agents. Like she just is like a real like team player, and like she's invested in the stuff. So like obviously the God's Time Forgot for her is like done and dusted, kind of like she's more there to like help with the contract and then other things, but like she doesn't have too much involvement with the manuscript. She did like at one point I was like panicking because I felt like the end of it was just not I felt like the ending was too like rushed or whatever. So I had her, I'm like, can you just please read this and let me know if it's okay, or like am I too close to it? And she read it. Like she didn't have to do that. It was just really nice. And so yeah, so it's been great with her. And then, you know, she's more invested in my newer projects, obviously, because that's the stuff that she's been there from the start with. Yeah, so that was my journey to publication. So it from 2020 to basically like from actually being like within the industry, like querying that kind of stuff, 2020 to what are we at now? 2025.
Yeah.
I mean, a little less than 5 years, but yeah.
Hey, all I gotta say first is, you're so strong.
So, like an actual lunatic. There were times I was like, what are you doing? Like it was hard, but
Mm-hmm.
very stubborn. I'm very stubborn.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. I have a lot to learn from you regarding, what is it? I say dedication to your work and your art and getting it out there. Because I'm just barely, what is it, 2-3 days into Query Trenches Part 2, and I'm like, I don't think so.
The biggest thing I held on to was it happened for me once. I got an agent once. I can do it again and again. Um, and again. But yeah, no, like if you did it once, you can do it again. Like just you do belong, like you do need like you deserve an agent, like you write well enough, like you just have to believe that. I obviously that's easier said than done. Like there was dark times, but you know, I did it.
Hey, but so much was learned from all of that, and especially now with you're saying like your relationship with your new agent is just so much better. Like
Yeah.
that makes me so happy. I hope you
Yeah.
know that.
No, it's been so great. And like I don't know if half of it I don't think I would have had any of these issues had I just found her in the first place, but like you know, like I don't think she would have done any of the things like that these other two agents did. I don't know what the hell happened with them that I found them. But I just feel so much more comfortable like advocating, so there isn't like anything I won't say, or like if I want to send an email, I'm sending an email. If I'm like, oh, I forgot to say this in the last email, I'm sending a second email. Like I know that's kind of
Mhm.
I don't feel annoying anymore, that which is like huge. So you know if I have something that I need to discuss, like she'll like hop on a call. She calls me now, which is cool. Like if there's something, she's like, if I don't answer an email quick enough, like she'll shoot me a call and be like, just want to make sure like we're on the same page. I'm like, yes. um but yeah, like I definitely learned, and I carried that into like my relationship with my editor, like at Alcove. Like I was burned before, and like I was in limbo for so long, and I felt like especially with my first agent, like for a year and a half, like to just be sitting like waiting for 10 months and not get any feedback. Like I feel like so much time, because publishing is so slow to begin with, so I felt like
Yep.
so much time was taken from me with her. The second agent, like the process was pretty quickly pretty quick from begin, like even though it was 9 months, it was like, you know, I needed to do the big cut, like cut down on my manuscript, like it was fine. um
Mhm.
but I don't think that was as much time wasted because she was very responsive and stuff. Like a lot of it was me working on the edits in my own time. But yeah, I just feel like I advocate for myself so much more, and I just feel better, and like I'm glad I'm not glad it happened, but I think I feel better about where I am, like less likely to get taken advantage of. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Um, no, there and that you okay. Gotta think through my words here. I think it is very important for other aspiring authors to hear that, because I know, I don't know, as I'm going into the query trenches again and looking for new agent, hearing what you've said regarding like feeling annoying and you don't want to like
Yeah.
badger them or anything. I think those are very relatable feelings, and it's important to realize like your agent, what was it? I actually listened to another interview of a agent. She was saying that your relationship with your agent is supposed to be like a marriage. So if you're feeling annoying talking to them about things, like there's obviously
Something's wrong.
yes.
There's an
So
imbalance there, yeah.
yeah, to hear that with your new agent, you can just talk and you can send emails and have good communication. I think that's so huge and important for other authors, like especially when in the query trenches, don't throw yourself maybe at the first
And it's so
um
easy to do that because you think like, well, what if nobody else offers? And it's just
mhm
like, listen, like you couldn't like I know that I signed with that other agent after the first debacle. Do you know what
mhm
I mean? Like
yep
so it's so easy to just get inside your head and be like, okay, well, I need an agent. Like, no, but seriously, like, no agent is better than the wrong agent because I believe had I don't know if I went out and subbed with that first agent, like, I don't know if she cared enough about the project to sub it correctly, like to where it needed to go,
mhm
or, you know, there's just so many things because of how difficult the other stages of publishing is. Like, you need to trust your agent that they're sending it, even just like I've heard horror stories where people, um, they don't even know if their book actually if the agent sent it to any of the editors on the list. Like I know one girl, she just left her agent a couple months ago. She just had no idea where the book was going. Like had it gone anywhere, like so, and then that's the book dead. You can't sell that. You can't give that to an agent. Like they can't sub it because if it went somewhere, like you can't sub the same book twice. Like,
yep
obviously within a certain time frame. It just gets like so messy and like some agents just should not be agents. Like they're just irresponsible with our work. And like the process is so long and slow and it's just like you really need to trust the person who's sending your work out there.
absolutely, and especially like hearing how much time and effort you put into creating this book. You need somebody who's gonna like
Yeah,
show just as much love for your
exactly.
work as you do.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing. I've heard a lot of authors where they eventually kind of get like backburned by their agent, where it's like the agent's into it at the start, and then like maybe when the first round of revision doesn't go as well, which is like basically what happened with me. I think she just lost it. But I know this happens to so many people, and then like they're kind of fighting for their agent's attention, or these are obviously there's some bigger agents out there that have like a huge, client list
Mhm.
that are like at big agencies, but it happens to like more people than we realize. But we all just kind of like when I was leaving my agent the first time, like I had so many other people like messaging me and they're like, wait, my agent's doing like the same thing. Like, and it's like, yeah, this actually isn't normal. Like, apparently there are good agents out there who respond to you and don't make you feel like you're a pest. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
No, and I think it's so important that you have been talking about it and helping people learn like, hey, like yeah, I had these crappy situations. They weren't good. Make sure you watch out for these red flags in your agents. But also that even though you had these situations, you're getting published, you've done it, you're
Yeah.
getting there. It's so awesome, so inspiring.
Thank you. I'm happy. I'm happy it worked out because it could have went the other way, but I was too psychotic to let it go.
I love it. You gotta be. You gotta be.
You have to be a little nuts, I think, to do this. To
Oh, perfect. Okay. Love. I am curious, despite all the agent stuff, as you've gone into getting your book out there into the world, what has surprised you the most about the publishing process?
honestly, the bookseller stuff, like now at the publishing stage, like I knew nothing about it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like everything comes down to like, and I still don't fully know everything about it. I'm trying to. I don't want to be like here I am saying like I don't want to be too annoying, but like I asked my editor, like she's so transparent with me. Like I'll be like, "Oh wait, can you explain this?" And she'll give me like this whole paragraph. Like she's so great. But then there's a point where I'm like, okay, I can't just be like, "Wait, what does that word mean? Like what does this mean?" Um, but yeah, like so I was surprised to see how much is like determined by sales and like basically the store owner, like the sellers, like who gets to stock they decide if they're stocking the book or not. So um, I've been going around to as many bookstores as I can, just introducing myself and like dropping off an arc. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of just thought the publishers were like, yeah, put this book in this store. Like, it's not like that. They have to like, the sales team has to like it. I don't know. There's like so many moving parts behind the scenes. That was the biggest surprise to me,
Yeah,
honestly.
I know nothing regarding that. So that's very interesting to hear.
Yeah. And I'm still trying to like figure it out myself to like be able to coherently talk about it and like give info like I have no good information to give other than like this crazy I didn't know it existed and yeah, there's this like there's layers to it.
Hmm.
Different people that okay the book like they see the cover first if they don't like the cover like the book's dead in the water like there's just so like obviously for certain genres but like yeah if it's just not going to sell to who they think it's going to sell to like it's just not going to get pushed like I don't there's just so many like different things
Yeah.
that go behind the scenes that I just didn't know happened.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so back to a little bit about your story before we move into some advice. What do you hope readers take away from your story?
um I just hope I mean, I don't have anything profound to say. I just hope they have a good time, honestly. Like, I just want it to be like fun and light, and I want them to like love Rua. The main character is a little bit, technically she's like unlikable. Like, I like her a lot, and I think people like her a lot, but like, she's very like, she never does what she's supposed to, like when you want her to. And I just want people to like appreciate that and love that about her. But because she's a goddess after all. But yeah, so yeah, that's I just want people to have a good time while they're reading it. Little escapism.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Um, those tend to be my favorite characters. So I think Rue and I will get along very well. Okay. What advice would you offer to aspiring authors who are navigating their own writing and publishing journeys?
Oof. Um, advice, let's see. I don't have any like I am the most chaotic like writer on the planet. Like I don't have a routine or anything like that, so I can't really I feel like a fraud giving advice. But for publishing, honestly, like I mean, I guess with writing too, then just like don't give up. I heard that there's this quote out there, and like it really is true. It's like the only people that don't get published are the ones that stop trying. Like you literally like you will get published if you just continue to try, which like obviously can be hard. You don't know which manuscript that is. Like you could be I know some authors, they're 10 books deep and then they're like I broke through. Um but yeah, if you don't give up, like you can get those you can achieve those dreams. I do believe that. Like that like who would like so many people told me to shelve The God's Time Forgot. They were like maybe you work on something else and I'm like, "Well, I can't." Like my mental health, I should have stopped. Like but I was just like a dog with a bone. Um they weren't saying shelve it for like purposes other than just like you need to give yourself a break from this. Like this is
Yeah.
crazy. I was like, "No, I can't." Um so, you know, I think if you just continue to try. I think that's my advice.
No, that's perfect advice, especially coming from you and hearing your whole story. That's perfect. Okay. Do you have any authors or books that have influenced you either in your writing or just in general?
Um, so when I started, like, I think my biggest influence for The God's Time Forgot, like, turning into a historical romance was like I was consuming mass amounts of historical romance, like on the train to work. So like Lisa Kleypas and Tessa Dare, like I like love those books, and I just like wanted to write a book that made me as like I mean, I don't even think I achieved it because they're just so good at it. But just like where you're like giddy and obsessed with the character, like you know it's a happy ever after. But like you said, you know they're gonna end up together, but like you're reading it and you're like, oh my God, are they gonna get together? Like you just like, can't put the book down. Like that definitely, I was looking for that. Like I wanted to infuse that into my book. I hoped on some degree. I don't think I've peaked yet, but I tried my best to put some of that historical romance like addiction into it. But
Love. And I have no doubts that you achieved it.
yeah, well,
Okay. Can you just Oh wait, we kind of went over this. Writing routine. It's just
so
kind of write whenever you can.
yeah, like now that I'm on deadline, like with a publisher, like I have to get it done. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit more like I will for 2 or 3. So publishing deadlines are very tight. It's like stuff has to get done in like 3 weeks. Like some of it, my first round of revision. So with my editor, it was messy. My book, I'm like, I can't believe she bought it. The 1,000 words, it needed a lot of work. But so that first round of revision, I had a little bit more time, but towards like the 2 weeks right before it's gonna gotta get turned in, like I'll stay up all night or like I'll wake up at 5 a.m. um
Mm-hmm.
to get it done. Like I have a full-time job that like I still have to do, but like I work for my dad, so I can be like, Dad, please like just don't email me for like 2 hours, you know? Um, but yeah, so I'm fortunate with that. But yeah, so basically, unless I'm on deadline, I'm just like la la la. And I can, but I did get the my second book done because my agent was like, get this into me. So like I'd like to go, I need to turn it in for my editor to look at. Um so I don't want to wait forever. So I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's take another 10 years to get a book done. So
No,
yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's way exciting. Okay, these are the more the rapid fire questions. So lightening it up.
Yeah.
Are there any out of pocket genres you would like to try your hand at in writing in the future? And out of pocket can be just things you haven't written in yet, or just totally bizarre ones you've thought of.
I I would love to do like a thriller. I love reading thrillers.
Okay.
Um, I probably read thrillers more. That's like a genre I read more than other books, but I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could write it, but I would like to try.
No,
That's my
I bet you could. I feel the exact same. I want to write a mystery, but I'm like, I don't think I'm smart enough for that.
Yeah, like I don't know if I would be setting these clues or is like is this a big enough mystery to settle, to write a book on?
Yes. No, I bet you could. What is your ultimate comfort book or guilty pleasure read?
I don't really reread books, so I think just like my comfort books would be like historical romance.
Hmm.
Oh, actually, there is one Sarah McLean book I did, but that was historical romance as well. It was like I think she had a series. It was like I don't know, like maybe I don't know if it was her, but it was something called like 11 Ways to Do Something to the Duke. I don't know. I read that one a couple times. Um,
I think I need to read them.
yeah, historical romance is definitely my comfort genre for sure.
Historical romance is so good.
Yeah, I love
Spike
it.
that. Okay, do you have a favorite trope to read or write in?
I definitely love enemies to lovers. And I think that's why I like the historical aspect so much is because like in contemporary, I would feel weird if they were like enemies because it's like if you're her enemy, like you're probably an asshole. And
Yeah.
like, so with historical, you kind of can lean into the like, societal like rules of the time. So it's like, oh, okay, like this is why they're not talking. Like, because like they don't hang out. I don't know. Like there's just more like rules that can keep the people apart. And I think it
Hmm.
like creates more tension. But so like I love my enemies to lovers because like I love it when like he comes around and he's like, oh, actually like, he's a feminist, that's what he ends up being by the end of the book. So yeah, I forgot what the question was.
No, you it was good. It's good.
Okay.
Favorite trope to read or write
Oh, yeah,
in?
that was
No,
it.
you're okay. So you mentioned a second book. Are there any teasers you can offer us, or is it pretty on the down low?
No, well, so it's definitely so I think it's like a gothic romantasy is what I'm thinking it would be the genre. It's definitely like spookier than I would have thought, but like as I was writing it, I was like, oh, like it's dark too, and I was like, wow, this is pretty dark. But it just feels right for the story. It's about like this Irish vampire. Like there's a legend, and it's like a reimagining of this legend, and there's a really good twist in the story that I'm just like obsessed with, and I want people to read it so badly. But yeah, it's just like, it's got like a sentient forest and like this goth, it's a creepy mansion and it's got good stuff in it. It's good stuff.
Oh,
I have to work on my pitch, as you can see.
no, I think that was perfect. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to eat this up. All right. Okay. Last question. Where can listeners find you?
Everywhere. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Lemonade. Where am I not? I don't really post, like I don't go, I think I might have a Twitter account. I don't use it. Attempted YouTube Shorts for a little while, but they're really mean on there. So I was just
They
like, no,
are.
not doing this. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And I think my handle everywhere is just Kelsie Sheridan Gonzalez. But yeah, I feel like I'm on Instagram and TikTok the most. Yeah.
Well, Kelsie, it's seriously been such a privilege to have you on. And I will say, and I'm going to make sure to link all your platforms, of course. But you are someone that I feel is, when I recommend creators for other authors to follow or readers, I'm like, Kelsie, because you teach so well. And also, you're just hilarious and so much fun to follow. So keep it up. You're doing fantastic. I'm so excited for your book release. You're killing it.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on. This was so fun.
Of course. Of course. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah. When I make huge success.
We'll go ahead and close out with the rest of the listeners, but I'd love to chat with you for just a second afterwards. But thank y'all for listening. We will see you next Thursday. Bye.